In the endless galaxy of Lithra, where twin suns painted the skies in gold and violet, there was a queen unlike any other. Her name was Queen Seraphina, ruler of the Alari, a race of ancient beings known for their beauty, power, and cold hearts. But Seraphina was different. Once, long ago, she had fallen in love with a human. His name was Captain Ethan Cross, a soldier from Earth who crashed on her planet during a forgotten war between the stars. He was brave, kind, and spoke words that warmed her alien heart. For a short time, they found peace in each other. But one day, Ethan disappeared, his ship destroyed in an explosion that lit the night sky. The Queen believed he had died. And with his death, the last part of her heart turned to ice. Years passed. The palace of Lithra stood high above the clouds, glowing with crystal lights and echoing with silence. The Queen ruled with wisdom and strength, but deep inside, she carried an emptiness she never showed. That was until the day the sky tore open again. A blinding light cut through the horizon, followed by a ship, small, broken, and burning through the clouds. The royal guards rushed to their stations, ready to destroy the intruder. But Seraphina raised her hand. "Wait," she said softly, her golden eyes narrowing. "Something feels familiar." The ship crashed on the outskirts of the capital. When the smoke cleared, a lone figure stumbled out, armor cracked and face covered in ash. The scanners confirmed it was human. The impossible truth whispered through the halls of the palace. A human had returned to Lithra. When the guards brought him before the Queen, she stood frozen on her throne. Her heart trembled in her chest. The man was thinner, older, his eyes shadowed by pain, but there was no mistaking that face. It was Ethan Cross. The Queen took one slow step forward. "This cannot be," she whispered. Ethan looked up, weak but alive. "Seraphina," he said, his voice trembling, "I came back." For a moment, the grand hall went silent. Even the guards dared not breathe. "You died," she said coldly, though her voice cracked. "I saw your ship fall into the abyss." "I did," Ethan replied. "But I wasn't allowed to stay dead." Her eyes narrowed. "Explain yourself." He tried to stand straight, his body shaking. "There's something coming," he said. "Something that destroyed the human colonies beyond the veil. I saw things no one should see. I came to warn you, because they're coming for your world next." The Queen's guards raised their weapons instantly. "Lies," one of them hissed. "Humans cannot survive the void." But Seraphina silenced them with a gesture. "Let him speak." Ethan looked directly into her eyes. "I thought I'd died in that explosion. But something in the dark brought me back. It called itself the Architects. They showed me the truth behind the war. They said the Alari and humans were never enemies. We were both their experiments." The Queen's expression didn't change, but her heart raced. The Architects, an ancient myth said to have created life itself, were forbidden even to mention. "You speak of forbidden names, human," she said. "Do you seek your own death?" "I've already died once," Ethan said. "I came back to stop them. To stop what's coming, for you, and for us." The Queen's chamber filled with tension. The air shimmered as the guards waited for her command. Finally, Seraphina stepped closer, her golden crown reflecting the dim light. "You dare return from the grave with stories of gods and monsters. Why should I believe you?" Ethan's eyes softened. "Because you once did," he said quietly. "You believed in me, before I fell." Something deep inside her broke. She turned away for a moment, her hand trembling slightly. Memories flashed through her mind, their secret moments, his laughter, his promise to return. She had buried those memories long ago. When she looked back at him, her face was unreadable. "Very well," she said. "You will prove your words." The guard stepped back as the Queen descended the stairs. If you truly speak the truth, she continued, then you will show me what lies beyond the veil. If you lie, you will die before the suns rise again. Ethan nodded, his voice steady despite his fear. Then let me show you, my queen. The hall fell into silence as Seraphina turned toward her throne. The flickering light of the chandeliers reflected off her golden crown. For the first time in years, she felt something she had forgotten, hope and fear. As the guards took Ethan away, the queen whispered to herself, if he truly returned from death, then the universe has changed. Outside, the storm grew louder, and in the distance, something vast and dark began to stir beyond the stars. The truth was coming. And this time, it would destroy everything they thought they knew. The next morning, the palace of Lithera stood in eerie silence. Storms still rolled across the upper skies, their violet lightning flashing against the crystal towers. Queen Seraphina stood on her balcony, her long pink cape fluttering in the wind. She hadn't slept. Her mind replayed Ethan's words over and over, the architects, they're coming. Down below, the palace guards escorted Ethan to the Chamber of Truth, a room made of shining silver walls that glowed with ancient energy. No one could lie within it. Not even the queen herself. When she entered, the air trembled slightly. The guards knelt, then stepped aside. Ethan stood in the center, his hands bound with light. Despite his injuries, his eyes were steady. You know what this place is, Seraphina said. Her voice echoed softly. If you lie, the chamber will crush you. I have no reason to lie, Ethan replied. Only reasons to make you believe. The queen raised her hand, and the bonds faded away. Then speak. Tell me what happened after your ship was destroyed. Ethan took a deep breath. When my ship exploded, I remember the fire. I remember your name on my lips before everything went dark. Then. I woke up in the void. A place outside of time. Seraphina's eyes narrowed slightly. The void is death itself. None return from it. That's what I thought too, Ethan said. But I wasn't alone. There were shapes in the darkness, beings made of light and shadow. They called themselves the architects. They said they built the first stars, the first life, and the first minds. They created both humans and Ilari as experiments. The queen frowned. That is blasphemy. I know, he said. That's what I thought, until they showed me. Ethan stepped forward and raised his hand. A small glowing crystal appeared between his fingers. They gave me this. It's a fragment of their memory, a vision of what's coming. The crystal began to float, spinning in the air. The room darkened, and an image burst to life above them, a cosmic storm swallowing worlds, planets crumbling into dust, stars flickering out. At the center of it all was a massive shape, like a machine and a god fused together. Its voice echoed faintly through the vision. All creations returned to their makers. The light vanished. The room went quiet again. Seraphina's face was pale. What was that? The architects are cleansing the galaxy, Ethan said. They think life has failed. They're coming to reset everything, to start again. The queen turned away, her long hair shimmering in the light. You expect me to believe that gods plan to destroy their own creation? I don't expect you to believe, he said softly. I just need you to see what I saw. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, the queen spoke. Why come to me? Why not to your own people? Ethan's voice broke slightly. Because there are no human colonies left beyond the veil. The architects already reached them. Her eyes widened. All of them? He nodded. I'm the last one who made it out alive. Seraphina walked toward him slowly. If what you say is true, then you carry death itself between your hands. I carry truth, he replied. And a chance to stop it. She looked at him for a long time, seeing not just a man, but the same courage that once melted her heart. And what do you expect of me, Captain Cross? He met her gaze. Help me find the source of the architect's signal. It came from deep space, beyond your empire's border. I can't reach it alone. The Queen turned to her royal guards. Leave us. When they were gone, she stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. You ask me to risk my entire realm for a war that may not even exist. I'm not asking you to risk it, Ethan said. I'm asking you to save it. The words hung between them, heavy and sharp. Seraphina's eyes softened, only for a moment. You haven't changed, she said quietly. Neither have you, he replied. She looked away quickly, hiding the flicker of emotion that crossed her face. Prepare a transport, she said at last. We'll go to the Star Archives. If there's any truth in your claim, we will find it there. Ethan bowed slightly. Thank you, my queen. Do not thank me yet, she warned. If this is a trap, I will end you myself. Later that night, as the palace lights dimmed and the twin moons rose, Seraphina stood in her private chamber, staring into a pool of liquid light. The reflection showed her face, strong, proud, but uncertain. Could it be true? She thought. Could he really have returned from death, for this? Suddenly, the light in the pool shimmered, and a whisper filled the air. A voice, cold and ancient, spoke softly in her mind. The human carries the mark of the architects. Her eyes widened. Who's there? She demanded. The voice replied, You cannot stop what was written. He was sent to lead you to the end. The vision faded, leaving only silence. Seraphina gripped the edge of the basin, her heart pounding. The architects were real, and they already knew she was listening. Far above the palace, in the deep shadows of the storm, something unseen drifted among the clouds, watching, waiting. The return of Ethan Cross had awakened more than memories. It had awakened the beginning of the end. The journey to the Star Archives began at dawn. The twin suns of Lithra rose behind the palace towers, painting the skies in shades of gold and violet. The royal fleet waited on the landing platforms, sleek, silver ships carved with ancient Alari runes that shimmered like stars. Ethan stood beside Queen Seraphina as the winds howled around them. He still couldn't believe he was here again, standing next to her, the woman he once thought he'd never see. She looked as regal and distant as ever, her pink hair flowing like a river of light. Her golden crown gleaming. Yet beneath her calm face, there was something different, something unsettled. Ready your heart, Captain, she said, stepping aboard the lead ship. The Star Archives hold more than history. They hold the truth our kind were never meant to see. Ethan followed her in silence. The ship's engines roared to life, and soon they soared above the clouds, leaving the glittering palace behind. The journey through Lithra's skies was breathtaking, vast floating cities, luminous forests, and rivers that sparkled with energy. But Ethan couldn't enjoy the beauty. His thoughts were heavy with what lay ahead. When they finally broke through the planet's atmosphere, Seraphina stood at the viewport, her golden eyes fixed on the stars. The archives orbit the dead star of Nerith, she said. It's a forbidden place. Only the royal bloodline may enter. Then it's a good thing I'm with royalty, Ethan said with a faint smile. For the first time in years, she almost smiled back, but only almost. Flattery won't save you from what we might find there, she said softly. Hours later, the ship descended into the orbit of Nerith. The dead star loomed ahead, surrounded by fragments of shattered moons and dark matter storms. Floating among them was a massive circular structure, ancient, majestic, and glowing faintly with blue light. The Star Archives, Seraphina said. Built before our written history began. As they landed, the air grew colder. The halls of the archive were silent and vast, filled with floating crystals that stored the knowledge of thousands of worlds. The walls pulsed with a strange hum, as if the structure itself was alive. Ethan followed closely behind Seraphina, trying not to stare too long at the strange lights dancing along the walls. "This place feels awake," he said. "It is," she replied. "The archives are protected by the consciousness of the ancients. They remember everything." At the heart of the chamber stood a towering obelisk made of transparent stone. As Seraphina approached, it lit up, recognizing her presence. "Queen Seraphina of House Ilari," a deep voice echoed from the air. "Access granted." Lines of glowing symbols began to scroll across the obelisk, shifting and rearranging into visible patterns. Seraphina placed her hand on the surface. "Show me the origin of the architects," she commanded. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, light filled the chamber. The walls melted into stars, and a holographic vision unfolded around them. Ethan gasped as he saw vast machines constructing galaxies, shaping planets, igniting suns, weaving the fabric of space itself. "They built everything," Ethan whispered. "Yes," Seraphina said. "The architects were not gods, they were engineers of creation." The vision changed. It showed two species emerging, humans and Ilari, both designed in similar forms but with different purposes. Humans were explorers, creators of chaos. Ilari were keepers, guardians of order. But then, the vision turned dark. The architects argued among themselves. Some wanted to destroy their creations. Others wanted to let them evolve freely. The conflict ended in destruction. The architects vanished, leaving behind broken worlds and silent stars. The light dimmed. Ethan looked at her. "So were both, their children." Seraphina nodded slowly. "And their war never ended. Perhaps now, they've decided to finish what they started." Suddenly, the chamber flickered. The temperature dropped sharply. The lights turned crimson. "Unauthorized presence detected," the deep voice boomed. Ethan looked around. "What's happening?" "The archive is rejecting you," Seraphina said. "It senses human DNA, it thinks you're a threat." Before she could react, energy tendrils shot from the obelisk, wrapping around Ethan's arms. He screamed as the light seared through him. "Stop!" Seraphina shouted, raising her hands. Her crown glowed, and waves of golden energy burst from her body, colliding with the tendrils. The chamber shook violently. "He's under my protection." The light hesitated. Then, slowly, the tendrils released him. Ethan fell to his knees, gasping. Seraphina knelt beside him. "You fool," she whispered. "You could have been erased from existence." He coughed weakly. "Wouldn't be the first time." Despite herself, she let out a small laugh, sharp and quiet. "Still making jokes at the edge of death, I see." Then, the obelisk flickered again, showing a final image, one that made both of them freeze. It was a planet. Dark, covered in mechanical structures that pulsed with a heartbeat-like rhythm. Above it hovered a colossal being made of light and machinery. "The architect's core," Seraphina breathed. "Their home." A new voice spoke, soft but filled with power. "We remember you, Queen of Ilari. We remember your lost human. Return him to us, and we will spare your kind." The image vanished. The lights dimmed once more. Ethan stood, shaking. "They know we're here." "Yes," Seraphina said. "And now, they're watching." She turned toward the ship. "We must leave. If the architects are awakening, the galaxy will fall into their control again." As they fled the archives, the dead star behind them began to glow faintly, like an eye opening for the first time in millennia. Far away, in the cold reaches of space, the architects stirred. They had found the queen. And the human who defied death. The ship burst out of the orbit of Nerith like a silver comet, engines screaming as it pushed through the swirling debris. Behind them, the star archives pulsed with a deep red glow, the mark of awakening. Ethan could still feel the echo of the architect's voice in his mind. "They know us now," he said quietly, gripping the side of the control panel. Queen Seraphina's gaze stayed fixed on the void ahead. "Then we'll make sure they regret it." Her voice was calm, but Ethan could hear the storm beneath it. The truth they'd uncovered at the archives was bigger than either of them. The architects were not just returning, they had never left. They had been watching, waiting, shaping the galaxy from the shadows. "Where to now?" Ethan asked. "Back to Lithra," Seraphina said. "If what we saw is true, I need to warn the council before the architects strike." But even as she spoke, a warning light blinked on the console. A sharp, rhythmic pulse. "Incoming vessels," Ethan muttered. 3, no, 5 of them. Fast movers. Seraphina's golden eyes darkened. "It's too soon for the architects. Those are Ilari ships." Within moments, the fleet appeared, sleek black cruisers bearing the emblem of the Order of Vale, an ancient Ilari faction that had long opposed Seraphina's reign. A voice crackled through the comms, cold and formal. "By decree of the Order of Vale, you are commanded to surrender the human and the artifact immediately. Your access to the Star Archives violates the sacred law." Seraphina's expression didn't change. "The law can burn," she said. "They've already found us." She turned to Ethan. "Hold on." The Queen's ship banked sharply, diving into a nearby asteroid field. Explosions flared behind them as enemy ships opened fire, plasma bolts cutting through the darkness. Ethan gritted his teeth as the vessel shook violently. "Please tell me your ships have shields," he shouted over the roar. "Of course," Seraphina said, her fingers moving across glowing runes. "But they won't hold forever." One of the enemy ships exploded as her counterfire hit its engines. The rest closed in, weaving through the asteroids like hunters. Ethan's voice was tense. "Why would your own people attack you?" "They're not my people," she replied. "The Order of Vale believes the architects are divine. They think serving them will bring eternal life." "Fanatics," Ethan muttered. "Worse," she said. "They're believers." The ship shook again as another blast grazed their hull. Warning lights flashed red across the console. Ethan looked at her. "We can't keep running. We need to lose them." Seraphina's lips curved slightly. "Then hold tight, human." She pressed her palm to a control rune, and the ship suddenly plunged downward, straight toward a massive asteroid. Ethan's eyes widened. "Are you insane?" "Completely," she said. At the last second, the ship's wings folded, and it shot into a narrow canyon cutting through the rock. The enemy ships tried to follow, but the Queen's ship moved like liquid light, gliding through spaces too tight for larger vessels. 2 of the pursuers collided and exploded in a flash of fire. When they finally broke free into open space, only one black cruiser remained. It was larger, faster, and heavily armed. Seraphina frowned. The flagship. From the darkness ahead, a holographic figure appeared on the viewscreen, a tall Ilari male with pale silver skin and cold eyes. His voice was deep, steady. "My queen. Still running from the truth, I see." Seraphina's expression hardened. "Lord Kale," she said. "Still crawling behind false gods, I see." Kale smirked. "The architects have returned, Seraphina. You should kneel before them as we have. The age of mortals is ending." "I don't kneel," she said sharply. "Not to men, not to myths." Ethan stepped forward. "They're not gods, they're machines. You don't know what they're planning." Kale turned his cold gaze toward Ethan. "Ah, the resurrected human. The architect spoke of you. You carry their mark." Ethan froze. "What mark?" Kale's smirk deepened. "You didn't think they'd bring you back for free, did you? You are their messenger, their key. And when your purpose ends, they will reclaim you." Before either of them could respond, Kale's ship opened fire. The blast tore through the Queen's shields, sending the vessel spinning. Shields failing. Ethan shouted. Seraphina slammed her hand on the console. Ejecting core power. Hold tight. A blinding surge of energy burst from the ship's rear engines, creating a shockwave that hurled them forward, far from Kale's cruiser. The stars blurred into streaks as they entered light speed. For several moments, neither spoke. The hum of the engine was the only sound. Finally, Ethan looked at her. What did he mean by Mark? Seraphina hesitated. I don't know. But if the architects touched you, they may have left more than memories. He looked down at his hands, and for a brief second, he thought he saw faint lines of blue light beneath his skin, pulsing like veins of energy. He quickly closed his fists. Seraphina turned away, her voice quiet but heavy. If Kale serves the architects, the order will not stop until they find us. Lithra is no longer safe. Then where do we go? Ethan asked. To the outer expanse, she said. There's a world hidden beyond the maps, a sanctuary of the lost. If anyone knows how to fight the architects, it will be them. Ethan nodded slowly. Then let's find them before Kale finds us. Seraphina glanced at him. For the first time, her eyes softened, not with affection, but with something deeper. Respect. You always had a talent for surviving, she said. He smiled faintly. And you always had a talent for saving me. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly ahead, glowing like silent witnesses to their fate. But behind them, far in the distance, Kale's cruiser drifted among the asteroids, its captain watching their trail through the void. They run, Kale murmured, his eyes reflecting starlight. But the architects already see them. And in the endless dark between galaxies, something vast and mechanical began to stir, turning its gaze toward the fleeing queen and the marked human. The hunt had begun, the stars blurred into streaks as Seraphina's ship cut through hyperspace, leaving the chaos of the order behind. For hours, silence filled the cabin, just the low hum of the engines and the faint glow of the consoles. Ethan sat near the viewport, staring at the endless river of light. He couldn't stop thinking about Kale's words. The architects marked you. He looked down at his hands again. The faint blue lines pulsed softly under his skin, vanishing whenever he focused on them. He hadn't told Seraphina how much stronger the glow was getting. How much longer, he finally asked. Seraphina's gaze remained on the star map floating before her. Not long. The hidden world lies beyond the Starline charts, where the architect's sensors can't reach. It's protected by a distortion field. Ethan leaned back, sighing. Protected or trapped? Both, she said quietly. Minutes turned to hours. Then, without warning, the ship jolted. The lights flickered, and the stars outside vanished, replaced by swirling clouds of silver mist. The instruments went dark. We're here, Seraphina said. Outside the window, a planet emerged slowly from the haze, a small, dim world surrounded by fragments of shattered moons. Yet even from orbit, Ethan could see signs of life, lights twinkling across the surface, ancient cities half buried under alien forests. The hidden world, Seraphina said. Or as the ancients called it, Erinder. They descended through the mist and landed in a vast valley surrounded by floating mountains. The air shimmered faintly with strange energy, like the whole world was breathing. When the ramp lowered, Ethan stepped out and took a deep breath. The air smelled metallic but alive. Feels different, he said. This world is a scar, Seraphina replied, stepping beside him. It was once a battlefield between the architects and those who rebelled against them. The survivors built a sanctuary here. As they walked through the overgrown ruins, faint lights flickered in the shadows. Ethan's instincts tightened. We're being watched. Before Seraphina could answer, a low hum echoed around them. Figures emerged from the mist, tall, cloaked beings with glowing eyes and weapons made of crystal and bone. One of them stepped forward, pulling down their hood. To Ethan's surprise, the face beneath was part human, part Ilari, skin like starlight, eyes like molten gold. "Queen Seraphina," the figure said. "We were told you would never come." Seraphina inclined her head slightly. "And yet here I stand. You remember me, don't you, Aaron?" The figure smiled faintly. "I remember the queen who banished us." Ethan glanced at her, confused. "You know them?" "They were the ones who refused to obey the architects centuries ago," she said softly. "My ancestors called them heretics." Aaron's gaze turned toward Ethan. "And who is this human you bring into our sanctuary?" "The one who came back from the dead," Seraphina said. "The one marked by the architects." Whispers spread through the crowd instantly. Aaron studied Ethan carefully, then motioned for them to follow. "Then you'd better come inside. The elder will want to see this." They were led through the ruins to a large circular hall carved into the mountain. Strange machinery filled the walls, half living, half mechanical, glowing faintly with blue veins. At the center sat an old man with silver hair and skin etched with patterns of light. His eyes opened as they entered. "Seraphina," he said in a deep, echoing voice. "You finally come seeking the truth you once denied." "I come seeking answers," she said. "The architects are returning. And this human carries their mark." The elder rose slowly and walked toward Ethan. "Show me your hands." Ethan hesitated but obeyed. As he raised his hands, the blue light beneath his skin flared brightly, forming a pattern, 3 intersecting circles surrounded by symbols. The elder gasped softly. "The mark of Genesis," he whispered. "The first command code of the architects. No living being should carry this." "What does it mean?" Ethan asked. "It means you are their messenger," the elder said. "But not in the way you think. The mark connects you to the core, their central mind. Through you, they can see and hear." "But," he paused, eyes narrowing. "It also means you can hear them." Ethan's heart pounded. "Hear them? You mean?" Before he could finish, a sharp ringing filled his head. Voices, cold, mechanical, whispered through his mind. "We remember you. You carry our will. Return to the source." Ethan stumbled back, clutching his head. "They're here, in my mind." Seraphina rushed to him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Ethan, look at me. Focus." He gasped as the voices faded. The elder frowned. "They're trying to control him. The longer he carries the mark, the closer they come." "Can it be removed?" Seraphina demanded. The elder shook his head slowly. "No. But it can be redirected. The mark is a signal, a beacon. If we change its frequency, we can use it to find the architect's core before they find us." Seraphina's eyes hardened. "Then we do it. Tell us what you need." The elder nodded. "It will take time. And his strength. The process could kill him." Ethan straightened, breathing heavily. "Then let's do it. If this thing inside me can lead us to them, we don't have a choice." Aaron stepped forward. "There's something else," he said. "The Order of Vale is searching for this world. Kale's ships were seen near the outer rings. If they find Arinder, the architects will know where we are." Seraphina turned to the elder. "Then we move quickly." He nodded. "Prepare the chamber. Tonight, we awaken the signal." As the Lost moved to ready their ancient machines, Ethan and Seraphina stood together under the glowing ceiling of the hall. "You don't have to do this," she said quietly. "You've already died once." He smiled weakly. "Maybe this time, I can make it count." She looked at him for a long moment, her golden eyes filled with something unspoken. Then she turned away. Don't fail me again, Captain Cross. Outside, lightning rolled across the silver sky of Erinder. The stars flickered as if watching. And deep beneath the surface, something began to stir, an ancient signal pulsing in rhythm with Ethan's heartbeat. The architects had found their beacon. But this time, the beacon was ready to fight back. The night on Erinder was unlike any other. Twin moons hovered above the valley, their light weaving through the floating mountains and bathing the ruins in silver. The wind hummed with low, mechanical tones, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. Deep within the mountain hall, the lost prepared their ancient machines. Sparks flickered as they connected glowing conduits and carved runes into the stone floor. The air shimmered with energy, and at the center of it all stood Ethan, surrounded by a ring of light. Seraphina watched from the edge of the chamber, her golden eyes fixed on him. She looked calm, but her heart was restless. She had seen death many times before, but never like this. The elder moved slowly, his staff glowing with faint symbols. When the process begins, he said to Ethan, you will see them. The architects. Do not listen to their words. Their voices are like gravity, once you fall, you cannot rise again. Ethan nodded, gripping the edges of the circular platform. Just tell me what to do. Hold on to who you are, the elder said simply. That is the only command that will matter. Seraphina stepped closer, lowering her voice. If this goes wrong, then you'll have to finish it, Ethan said. Don't hesitate. She looked at him for a long moment, then finally nodded. Very well, Captain Cross. Let's wake the gods. The elder raised his staff. The runes on the ground flared to life, flooding the chamber with white-blue light. The mark on Ethan's hands ignited, spreading up his arms in glowing lines until his whole body shimmered with energy. Then came the sound, a low, endless tone that wasn't just heard, but felt. The walls trembled, and the air became heavy. Ethan's eyes rolled back as visions crashed through his mind. He was standing in the void again, surrounded by massive shapes, endless, shifting machines that pulsed like hearts of metal. Voices spoke all around him, deep and distant. You carry our pattern. You are the bridge between creation and end. Through you, the core shall awaken. Ethan shouted into the darkness, why me? Why bring me back? 1,000 lights turned toward him, each one an eye, ancient and mechanical. Because you love the queen, the voices said. And through love, we learned fear. He gasped as the visions changed. He saw Seraphina, standing before the architect's core, her golden crown shattered, her wings of light torn away. Behind her, the galaxy burned. No. Ethan shouted. That's not the future. The voices responded like thunder. It is the design. Then, suddenly, everything went black. Outside the vision, Seraphina saw Ethan convulsing. The elder shouted, the link is too strong. The architects are fighting back. Aaron rushed to the controls. We can't stop it, it's feeding on his energy. Seraphina's eyes flashed. Then I'll give it mine. Before anyone could stop her, she stepped onto the platform and pressed her hands against Ethan's chest. Light exploded around them, intertwining her golden aura with his blue glow. The chamber roared like a living storm. Seraphina, no, the elder cried. If you link with him, I can anchor him, she shouted back. Their energies collided, forming a vortex of gold and blue light. Through it, Ethan saw Seraphina, not as a queen, but as she once was, fierce, proud, and human in her pain. Her voice echoed through his mind. Ethan, listen to me. Remember who you are. He gasped for air. They're showing me the end, everything burns. Then change it, she said. You've already done the impossible once. Do it again. Ethan clenched his fists. The light around him pulsed violently. I won't be your weapon, he shouted into the void. You made me, but I choose my own purpose. The mark on his skin blazed white. The entire mountain shook as a wave of light burst outward, tearing through the machines and sending the lost to their knees. When the glow finally faded, the chamber was silent. Ethan lay motionless on the platform, steam rising from the floor. Seraphina knelt beside him, touching his face. "Ethan." His eyes opened slowly. "Still here," he whispered. The elder staggered forward, awe in his voice. "You did it, you broke the signal's control. The architects can no longer see us." But before relief could settle, alarms rang through the hall. Aaron burst in from the outer corridor, his face pale. "The Order has found us. Kale's ships are descending." Seraphina stood instantly, her eyes blazing with fury. "Prepare the defenses. Evacuate the civilians to the lower tunnels." Aaron nodded and ran. Ethan struggled to his feet. "They're after the mark. They won't stop until they have it." "Then they'll have to go through me first," Seraphina said. She turned to the elder. "You've done your part. Now hide the signal device. If the Order gets it, all this was for nothing." The elder bowed slightly. "May the stars shield you, my queen." Explosions shook the mountain as enemy ships fired from above. The ground split, sending dust raining down. Ethan and Seraphina rushed out of the chamber into the open valley. The night sky was ablaze with fire, dozens of black ships descended through the mist, their weapons glowing red. "Kale's fleet," Ethan said, drawing his plasma rifle. They didn't waste time. Seraphina drew her energy blade, its golden edge humming. "Let them come." Lightning struck the cliffs as enemy troops began landing, dark-armored Ilari soldiers of the Order, chanting the architect's name. Ethan turned to her. "We can't win this head-on." Her eyes narrowed. "We don't need to win. We just need to survive long enough to reach the core." He frowned. "The core? You want to go toward the architects?" She met his gaze firmly. "If they want us, let's give them a reason to fear what they created." In the distance, Kale's flagship landed with a blast of wind. His voice echoed across the valley through amplified speakers. "Surrender the human, Seraphina. End this before your people burn again." Seraphina raised her sword high, the golden light cutting through the storm. "Tell your gods," she shouted, "the Queen of Lithra does not kneel." The valley erupted in chaos as the two sides clashed, gold and red lights cutting through the mist, thunder echoing across the mountains. And in the heart of the storm, the mark on Ethan's skin pulsed again, stronger, wilder, as if the architects themselves were watching through the fire. They had broken the signal, but the war had just begun. The valley was a storm of fire and metal. The Order's fleet darkened the sky, their beams tearing through the floating rocks and shattering ancient towers. Lightning flashed across the clouds as if the heavens themselves were angry. Seraphina stood at the front line, her golden armor gleaming beneath the chaos. Every swing of her blade sent arcs of light through the air, cutting down enemies like burning comets. Beside her, Ethan fought with fierce precision, his rifle blazing blue, his mark glowing brighter with every pulse. But for every soldier they defeated, more descended from the ships above. Aaron's voice crackled through the comms. "We can't hold them much longer. The eastern ridge has fallen." Seraphina looked at Ethan. "We go now. The core lies beneath the valley. If we reach it first, we end this, one way or another." Ethan nodded, breath ragged. "Let's finish what they started." They raced through the burning battlefield toward a giant fissure in the earth, a chasm glowing faintly with alien symbols. Wind howled from below, carrying whispers that chilled the air. When they reached the edge, Seraphina placed her hand against the stone. The symbols recognized her touch and began to move, forming a spiral path downward. "The core of the architects," she said softly. "Where creation began, and where it can end." Ethan glanced at the sky. Kale's flagship was descending, engines roaring. "He's coming." Seraphina stepped onto the spiral stairway, golden light wrapping around her. Then let him watch his gods fall. The deeper they went, the quieter it became. The war above faded into silence, replaced by a low hum that felt alive. The walls pulsed like veins, carrying streams of liquid light. At the bottom, they entered a vast chamber, a cathedral of pure energy. In the center floated the core, a massive sphere of light and shadow, shifting like a heartbeat. Ethan felt the mark on his skin burning. They're inside it, watching us. Before Seraphina could respond, a beam of red light sliced through the air. Kale landed behind them, his armor cracked but his eyes burning with rage. "So this is where you've been hiding, my queen," Kale sneered, stepping closer. "You betrayed your kind, for him." Seraphina raised her sword. "I betrayed the lies you built." Kale's gaze turned to Ethan. "And you, the human ghost. You were supposed to die on the Red Moon. Yet here you are, playing savior." Ethan stood tall, his weapon aimed steady. "Maybe dying isn't the worst thing that can happen. Maybe living as your puppet is." Kale's laugh echoed through the chamber. "You think you've broken their design? Look around you. You're still inside their system. The architects write every ending." He raised his hand, the mark of command on his palm flaring red. The core reacted, sending waves of energy through the air. Ethan fell to one knee, pain searing through his veins. "They're pulling me back." Seraphina ran to him, pressing her hand over his mark. "Fight it, Ethan." Kale's voice thundered, "He belongs to them now." But as the architect's presence filled the room, Ethan's eyes flashed white. He stood, trembling, but unbroken. "No," he said. "Not anymore." The mark on his hand began to change, the red lines twisting into white light. The core shuddered, reacting to something new. Kale stepped back in disbelief. "What have you done?" Ethan looked up, his voice calm but powerful. "You said the architects write every ending. Then let them read mine." He reached toward the core, and light exploded outward. The entire chamber trembled as the architects' voices roared, not in command, but in confusion. "This is not the pattern. Human choice is corruption. Erase the anomaly." Seraphina shouted over the noise. "Ethan, it's killing you." He turned to her, smiling weakly. "If it means you live free, it's worth it." She grabbed his arm. "No. We end this together." With a cry, she plunged her blade into the floor, channeling her own energy into the core. Golden light surged through the chamber, fusing with Ethan's white glow. The combined power shook the mountain, shattering Kale's armor and sending him sprawling. He screamed, reaching for his broken command mark. "You can't stop them. They are the beginning and the end." Seraphina glared at him. "Then let this be the middle, the part where we fight back." The core pulsed violently, its light growing unstable. Cracks formed across its surface, and from within, a storm of memories burst out, the rise and fall of worlds, the creation of life, the endless rewriting of fate. Ethan and Seraphina stood together at the center of it, their hands intertwined. "Seraphina," he whispered. "If I don't make it." She cut him off, her voice trembling. "You already did. You came back." The core shattered. A blinding wave of light swept through the valley, reaching the ships above and freezing them mid-air. The Order's soldiers fell silent, their minds disconnected from the architect's signal. And then, quiet. When Seraphina opened her eyes, she was lying on the valley floor. The sky was clear, no ships, no fire. Only the soft hum of wind across the grass. She sat up quickly, searching. "Ethan." A few meters away, she saw him lying still, the mark on his hand now faint and gray. She ran to him, pulling him into her arms. "Wake up," she whispered. "Please." His eyes opened slowly. "Told you. I'd find my way back. Tears filled her eyes as she smiled. You foolish human. In the distance, the ruins of the Order's fleet drifted in silence. The galaxy was free, for the first time in ages. The Elder and Aaron appeared from the ridge, their faces filled with awe. The architects are gone, the Elder said softly. You broke the pattern. Seraphina looked at the sky. No, he did. Ethan squeezed her hand weakly. Maybe now, we can start over. She leaned closer. Together. As the twin suns rose over Arinder, their light bathed the valley in gold. The core was gone, but in its place bloomed a new energy, pure and alive. Ethan looked toward the horizon, his voice barely a whisper. Guess even gods can be wrong. Seraphina smiled. And love can still rewrite the stars. And with that, the legend of the human who defied the architects, and the alien queen who loved him, became the first story in a galaxy finally free to dream again.